Welcome, welcome everyone to a wonderful episode of Owning Her Health. We are on episode 33 and we are, chugging here into the end of this year. And one of the bonuses of doing these Owning Her Health chats is being able to speak to all these women at different points in their life, but with one common conversation, which is to save the sisterhood and help empower everyone. And my guest today, Carol Lovell Calvert, is no exception. Carol is based, I'm not sure if she's based out of Charlotte anymore. I met her here in Charlotte, and she's doing all these wonderful things for older women. And she holds these Sterling Silver Sisters is her page on Facebook. And her company, Wellology, is doing work with Wellology Living, is doing work with light and the full spectrum of light therapy. So she's really, really cool. She's into energetics. She's into self-embodiment and ownership and all the things we normally talk of. I love her Facebook page, has a wonderful quote, "We rarely hear the inward music, but we're all dancing to it nevertheless." And I just think that really kind of sums up how we should be moving into our sterling silver years, right? Those years in our hair. And she has this wonderful picture on the Facebook page of the evolved woman showing this, with and a woman with like long gray hair, just sexiness oozing through. And so Carol was nice enough to come on and speak to us in her words and her story of how she came to be owning her evolution as a woman, owning her evolution as a medicine woman, an energy woman, and then bringing that into the world through her work and through her work with full spectrum light and playing with that edge of science that maybe, you haven't played with since your physics class or since your science class, and understanding that relationship with the world around you. So this episode is full of that goodness. This episode is also being sponsored by MindBodyBrandAcademy.com. MindBodyBrandAcademy.com, the 2.0 version, is going to launch in the end of January, and you'll be seeing some advertising for that. And what that is an 8-week incubator. It's an 8-week incubator for female health entrepreneurs who, particularly physical therapists, health and wellness practitioners, more who are maybe licensed healthcare providers who have not been comfortable finding their voice. They've always kind of like worked through their credentials and all this academia mindset. And so they're out there wanting to be the medpreneur. And I am just really, really excited to bring this version on and allow people to, in 8 weeks, go from analysis paralysis to a brand and voice they love. And when you go on the site, what you can do is right off the bat, before we even get started, download your Biz Bliss survey. And what that's going to do is, I will put a link in the show notes. What that's going to do is get your head on straight for setting up your goals. If you're somebody who's thinking, hey, I've got a message to get out there, whether it's a product, whether it's a course, whether it's a solopreneurship, independent practice of your own, any which way you want to play this, what it needs is that it needs to find you. You're the one that needs to be pushing whatever that service is. And so we're going to go through that. That Biz Bliss survey will get you started totally free. Want you to get a taste of some of the deep dives that we do in the course. So make sure you go to mindbodybrandacademy.com, scroll down the page, and you'll have an opportunity. But I will put the direct link for the Biz Bliss survey in the show notes over on the show link on the Libsyn page. So thank you so much, guys. We're going to be having, I think, maybe one more here for the year, and then we're closing up shop and starting in 2018. I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's been an amazing year, and I'm so grateful. So thanks so much, and here you go on another ride. Buckle up, as I always say. Put this on in the MP3 so that you can take it on the run and listen to another wonderful episode of Owning Her Health right now.
Welcome to this episode of Owning Her Health with your host, Dr. Lisa Holland, PT. Join Lisa as she starts the conversation on what it really takes to become a healthy, wealthy, and whole CEO of your life. Listen in to real talk by real lady leaders in all walks of life as they open up on personal health stories, wealth, career, and feminine abundant living. Learn how to grow by owning your body, expanding your mind, and aligning your soul with the purpose only you can pursue in this world. Happiness begins with owning her health right now.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful episode of Owning Her Health. I am, as you heard in the intro, Dr. Lisa Holland, and I have a local friend, but she also goes down to Florida now. She'll tell us where she's at. She's all over the place. Lovell Calvert. And I connected with her here in Charlotte at her, she was doing the Light Retreat Center, and this was a wonderful place. She had a lot of land, and she was just creating a very comfortable energy. And if you hear a little mumbling in the background, that's my niece, and she's saying Titi because that's in Spanish, that means aunt. And she's on our episode today too, so she's a little visitor. But I connected with her there. I went over there with Belinda Haverdale one day, and she had this wonderful setup with all these things working with light and light energy and light therapies, which I know she'll go into a little bit. But beyond that, she's on the same vibe as us here with the Goddess Tribe because basically, she works with the divine feminine. She holds retreats. She holds women's circles. So she's right there with us in terms of understanding the feminine divine within us and growing those energies within us. So I welcome you, Carol, so much. Thank you so much for being on this podcast, Owning Her Health. How are you today? And why don't you just tell the audience a little bit, a synopsis of who you are, what you're doing now, and how you're bringing this work into the world.
Lizette, thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. And definitely, I am part of your tribe. The goddess wisdom, the goddess tribe, what's inside coming out at this period of time, the energetics of it happening, of our being in it and being with others activates it in them and activates it in their mates, that balance. I mean, it's pretty exciting. So to be able to be a part of this with you and share, thank you. Gee whiz. I was thinking about, I am committed to light and energy. And I'm committed to helping others get to that within themselves. And in so many ways, how did I get there? I was thinking about when I was little. And I remember hanging from a swing set and having a Kundalini experience. Now, I didn't know what that was. And then you can fast forward to, I grew up in a family of scientists. My dad was a mechanical engineer. My brother runs a pharmaceutical lab. He's a chemical engineer. And my mom, if you gave her a plant, she wouldn't let you dig it from your yard. She would have to bring her compass so she could see the best direction to the sun before you could dig it up, or she would dig it up. So my first experience around light and energy and around that goddess wanting to be acknowledged within was in the 90s. I'll say it was probably some before, but in the 90s, I had early 90s, had a Reiki session. And I remembered all of that energy. And over the months that passed after that, I just knew. I went on then to become a Reiki master and also medical Reiki master, so I could incorporate the technical with the metaphysical. I'm going to zoom up now to about this divine presence of the goddess. none of us stop and think about it. We don't think about how powerful, if we're listening, if we're taking care of all this beautiful light body and this physical body and mental, emotional, spiritual, what can happen? I went in 2002 to Japan, to Mount Karuma, where Reiki began. And my son was studying nearby and would come in the train and see me on a daily basis. But I concentrated on the area where Reiki began. And so I arranged beforehand to be a part of the Reiki evening, which is a share, and across the world this is done. And I'll call him Bud, but the renowned Reiki master, who's also a Methodist minister and Buddhist monk, who still is over Mount Karuma and Kyoto Reiki. He and I, on a Tuesday evening at their share, did Reiki together on students at Kyoto University. And the first person we worked on, he says, let's do it together. We'll learn from each other. And I was so excited because I had just become a Reiki master. And so we began, and I said to him, hey, Bud, I don't know Japanese. But I do get emotional information as I'm doing Reiki, and I want to share. Will you translate it? And he said, sure. And so we began. And we were working on a young girl, and very quickly I started getting that information. And I told him in English. And in Japanese, he translated it to her. Well, her tears began, and she started talking. I knew what she was saying. And I would tell him something. And so this went on throughout the whole session. Now, I don't know Japanese, but the goddess within was able to transition past language into an understanding. And I tell you this as a side note. You've asked me to tell about how I got there. There's so many pieces. And I think every woman, every goddess has that opportunity. Whatever way she chooses to get there or to continually get there on a daily basis, there are so many wonderful ways to experience.
And the thing is that, one thing that when I'm listening to your story is it's really about receptivity. It's you went and you studied the Reiki and you did all of that, but it was about receptivity. It was so much. I mean, you're there in Japan. You're there with masters. You're being taught by. You're being given the opportunity to receive, but you wouldn't have been able to do much with all of those skills without receptivity. And I think that's one of the things that is part of the problem here, or the process we're going through, is that we were turned off to even the receptors. I know that being brought up, it wasn't necessarily that aspect of the empowerment by the goddess. It was, there was Greek mythology, and there was, sacred images in religion, but there wasn't a lot of empowerment there, unless you're looking at like Wonder Woman or something. You're looking at the Greek, the Greek stories. But even though a lot of those stories, and even actually what I was looking at is Disney and all of that, there was always this like kind of goddess, but she was like mean, like the queen, or there wasn't this the same receptivity I think that I grew up into, which was that energy of what I'm hearing you were communicating through, even beyond emotional intelligence, heart intelligence. The same way when moms know their babies cry, and they know after a while there's different cries that mean different things, and your children, and being intuitive to what's going on there. That's a very feminine attribute. Not that men don't have that, but just as it was dulled down in some women, going very much towards their masculine attributes. Again, we're a big bag, a mix of both. I think that now there's a resurgence to kind of owning it, own that intuition. When I was pregnant with my daughter 20 years ago, the clothes were still sort of hiding, like you were kind of, trying, it wasn't as flamboyant of like sticking to your curves and showing you're pregnant and now we're just getting to the point where we say like menstrual flow, because like before it was like your friend, and before that it wasn't even, they talked about it. So to some extent, that's what I hear. You had an opportunity is to be receptive. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I love how you share that. I think that what you are describing is, we have layers that are coming off for humanity now through all of the energy flow that is happening through the ages. And we're now at a place where we're mostly in fifth dimension and very little thirds. Third is still leaving. And to some that may sound kind of quirky, but what happens is within us, we start opening up to what can be. That's the receptivity. Kalaman, who is a biologist, wrote about this in the Mayan code, and we are right on time. We live in such an exciting period of time. And, for me, I think one of your questions was, what would you go back and ask or go forward and ask? But I can really tell you, I would do neither. I am just where I want to be. And it's enlivening, and the growth is exciting, and there's nothing missing. I'm just learning as I need it. In that receptivity, there's a trust factor. And I wrote a book. I just gathered up memes from Facebook, and you can go to my site, wellologyliving.com, and you can get it for free. Just open it up, and it's talking about the filters. What is it that we have about us from our experiences that taught us a lie about something that we have to let go of in order to get to our authenticity? And I think that that's a really great place to start. What are the things I'm thinking about that keep me from my goddess within? And one of the things that I'm doing with, everything I'm doing actually evolves around this. I made the decision when I closed the light retreat. Of course, it had the wildlife aspect to it. We had the light spa, energetic spa. We had all the science behind bringing the beauty from within out, all of it. Nothing was missing. Years of research, years of classes, years of turning people on to getting their light systems or learning holistic ways to come there. But I realized in these energies, the most important thing I can do is provide something in a lifestyle of energetics and vibration that I can say, here's a lamp for your home. Just run it. Just turn it on. Make a choice on lifestyle. Make a choice on color of light and go about your day. And here's a peace mat, totally organic, has all of the organics of all the vitamins, minerals, crystals, healthy sea vegetation, minerals, even shungite, and go hang out with it. And here is a beautiful light-infused sunrise or sunset, or another aspect of fine art with light imposed. You can even have your own photo during a photo shoot. Bringing your light, your goddess light within out, by Ben Winkler Photography. All three of those together make your Zen spa. Come home at night, first thing you see is that incredible photo. Turn on your Living Wellology lamp, turn on your peace mat. Every day on the daily. Now,
because that kind of speaks again to I think for a lot of people that it's hard for them to understand some of the things you're saying, because again, it's a level of receptivity, but at its most acceptable form. It's the reason why we like to have beauty around us, or aesthetics. I mean, everybody has their different core values, but if you're somebody who enjoys an environment, and when I'm listening to you in, let's say, Western science, they might be saying more of epigenetics, or the environmental cues around you, which do affect you. I mean, we have now, back when Bruce Lipton was talking about, cellular effects and reactions we can have, on our cells, that was looked at, poppycock and who's this doctor, talking. But now we're really realizing we have genes, we have cells that have genes in them, but whether or not you turn it on has a lot to do with how we are. Our interoception is playing with our exteroception, meaning internal or external, picking up what? What are we picking up? I mean, when you get down to it, what is it we're picking up? We're picking up the vibrations of everything. Everything is energy. That's Einstein, not me, the yogi, physio yogi, whatever. Okay, so Einstein's where everything is energy. Yeah. We're picking it up constantly. If we want oxygen in our body, why do we need oxygen in our body? Why do we need that for life here? Because it allows for chemical reactions for breaking up ATP to ADP, to the whole chemistry behind everything you learned in science books. And, but it's understanding the forms that can come in, and then being, whether or not you have a bias to, can a plant give me that? Is it only a machine that man makes that gives me, radiation? Is it, can I appreciate the sun, but then I don't want to appreciate, technology? It's very confusing to me sometimes, but I get it. I get it, because we only, at some level, again, of where we're open to receiving the awesomeness of what we can be, there's only so much we can take. But like you're saying, I mean, if you're willing to try, if you're willing to put on the lamp, that's what I tell people. If you're willing to diffuse an essential oil, if you're willing to pump 2 pumps of a hemp oil in your mouth, I mean, but if you're not, then I don't know what to say.
So, one of the things I try to do a couple times a year, is go to a big box store like Home Depot and go into the full spectrum white light bulbs that are LED. Mm-hmm. That have over a 20-year warranty, that are 5,000 kelvins. That's the unit of heat. However, LED doesn't get hot. But these are healing, if you want to use that word. My jurisprudence doesn't allow me to use that in LED light therapy, but I'll use the word shift. And if you look at all the research from bone density to SAD, seasonal affective disorder. I mean, the list goes on. And the big box stores who have you shopping for the holidays have full spectrum white light, because you want to stay. So these bulbs, you can get 3, I think, for $17 with that 20-year warranty, right? Lowers your bill over $100 a year. But people won't want to leave your house. Your animals will love it. Put them in all the overheads, put them in all the lamps. Just that is awakening to this light, this energy, the goddess within. And I have to say, the male has the goddess too, has the god, the goddess, and the balance there. The animals, the plants. I, again, get on social media, and I'm a teacher by education, so I'm always trying to get out there with what I can to say, hey, maybe it isn't this, maybe you identify with this, but now with the new energies, the solar energy will bring you a prism because our bodies are more crystalline now, and go out into the woods, find a place where the sun's coming through, put your phone on selfie camera, put the sun behind you, and keep playing with the camera, looking at yourself till you see the beings a prism light. In fact, last week, I did it to show that we now have the, it's a purplish pink light coming through. And it's beautiful. It's healing. And again, the goddess.
Yeah, and you know, and you're right. And I try to put that up. We're speaking of the goddess because it's just a voice. Her voice hasn't been recognized, but it hasn't been recognized in men as well. and it's really not a body part thing. It's really not a body part issue. It's more of of like you said, an energy that can go either way, but has different attributes. And the attributes you're describing right now are colors, wavelengths. Different wavelengths have different looks on our eyeballs. The interesting thing, you were speaking of your Zen spot and setting up that space, honoring that space. I think that's a really great idea of us just sort of, how do we own our health? We have to own ourselves. We have to own our space. And then we can have some choice how we share that with others. I think especially like moms and, sometimes we're not claiming that, like we have the house and everybody seems to have their room, but like our bathroom, our room, it's everybody's room, whereas it's their room and this and that. And I think there's that. I think we see that manifested sometimes in disease, or at least I do. I'll see that same sort of like not giving of yourself, not allowing yourself to have that space be almost manifested in disease. Do you see that? And do you see like that clearing of is that sort of the idea of letting a certain wavelength in, or using the color therapies and things like that? Is that the idea of that? Absolutely.
But keep in mind, there are a lot of ways to get there. But color therapy has been researched for years. There's a site, in fact, it is my site, thelightlinks.info, and it's got tons of research about light and energy. It's got research from the medical aspect. It's got research from the ancient aspect, and I continually add to it. I want to go back to what you're talking about in terms of the family dynamics. At the Light Retreat, we used to have events and bring in holistic practitioners to do classes. And one of the aspects that we did was the family constellation work out of Germany. And it's incredible for helping you move through ways of thinking that have gone on for lifetimes. In the Bible, they talk about 7 generations. But I think that in this new energy, the most exciting thing that we can think about, and I think that's why your goddess tribe is so incredible. The only limitations we have to getting to it and helping our children getting to it are our own limitations of how we think or feel that we're not willing to go past. One of the reasons that I'm doing the Evolved Women's events and helping promote those across the planet is for this very reason. And I've just, as I told you, just renamed it Sterling Silver Sisters Evolved Woman. And it's not about doing these events like I used to have. It's not about doing learning events. It's not about having a speaker and you pay this money to go in and take all these classes and get certifications. It's not that. It's about being with your peers. It's about letting the child within come forward. It's about playing, whatever the area is. And like we were to have one in October, we had to cancel. Now they're having them again, the mermaid event. The mermaid is a great personification of the goddess, the evolved goddess that's willing to let you flow and learn on your own. but we were painting. I think you may have seen the picture. We were painting either face or torso, and everyone was bringing whatever they do, because evolved women tend to have their own way of, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. So we wanted to be able to share in that fair type environment. The rest of the time was about just playing, being together. And that's why I want to respond to you around family. So if mom is touching the child within, and she's getting the coding for remembering who she is, she can get it from all these wonderful ways, or from being around other goddesses. Then that child, both male and female, are getting this energy and giving them permission to touch their own growth.
And I think that's so important. And, time flies so fast and we can talk for hours, but, that's definitely something that is a really good point to sort of end off on, is that idea of play. We should, my master teacher, Sri Dharma Mitra, he says, be childlike, be like a child again, but in the sense of like, be childlike, not childish. And so, allow that wonder and allow that, a little bit sense of awe. I think, the difficulty between spirituality and science, even though like the more you read about science, the more you're in awe with, and you should be spiritual because it's right there, is that idea of like stopping the awe. Like her. She's like just looking right now and is in awe of like just everything and everything every day. And we lose that in the routine. So that's like such a great, little piece there of like listening about family dynamics, is like allow for that play. And I actually, in my office, I don't know if you could see, do you see I have play right there?
Absolutely.
That's a big word I saw. But so just in finishing up, Carol, where can we find you? Because all of this is very interesting, the light work, and I want to make sure that I'll get all of those like little tidbits. You told me of a couple of those different websites, and definitely your websites. Where can they find you to find some of these evolved women projects, to connect with you, to connect with this, to connect with, this conversation? Where's the best way to find you? On social media, on your website?
I would love for the goddesses to friend me, Carol Lovell, Lovell Calvert, on Facebook. On Facebook, you have the Sterling Silver Sisters Evolved Woman. And also on Instagram, you have Wellology Living Lifestyle and Wellology Living. And you also have the Sterling Silver Sisters Evolved Woman. My website is Wellology Living. And you'll see the connection to the pages of the things that we're talking about. And for the science behind energy and light, the lightlinks.info. One thing that I am doing is totally moving to lifestyle. I'm getting away from any of the connectedness to having to be science. Mm-hmm. It's just lifestyle. And science is there. I grew up in it, and have been many of my years have been a part of it. But this is about the new energy, the new earth.
And I think, eventually, I don't know when, I don't know what generation, but it's going there. I think there's like people like me, integrative, trying to pull that. When you can see, like I said, how I pieced it down to at the very end, we're all talking about cellular energy. Okay, like we break it down, we're getting down to the atoms, and in the atoms and the nanoparticles and like energy. But it does get very technical. I think that's why I left mainstream medicine for a little while, and I don't think allopathic has it all, because you need to be open to more like the Eastern ideas of it's all relative. And I think that's what we're saying. It's all relative. Male, female, goddess, the hero's journey, the heroine's journey, I mean, you know, right now she just is feeling it in herself. And we, you know, we kind of create that environment and that epigenetics for her. But I thank you, Carol. I mean, these talks always go like so fast, and we'll probably have to have more. We'll have to have maybe an open, what would be really fun, I think, is maybe having maybe an open Zoom and having a master class or a kind of a chat on all of this with maybe a couple people. That might be fun or something like that. So if you guys are listening in and you think that would be great, put it in the comments. Let me know. Send me information. Carol, anything else you want to leave us with? Some last words of wisdom from you?
Yeah. I this morning had a phone session with one of my practitioners who has just had her left breast removed. And I want to speak for a minute on science and the merger of these that you're integrating and you're talking about. Mm-hmm. With the biofeedback that I do and the other therapies, you know, there is such an opportunity here for us to, German New Medicine is a great way to look at health from an aspect that every disease we have is always in healing stages.
I like that.
Always. German New Medicine. And there's an index at learninggnm.com that's incredible for the shift. And so anyway, we always want to pull science back in, and we also want to integrate when we can. So anyway, thank you for this opportunity so very much, Lizette.
Because that sounds like an awesome conversation to have just on that last methodology or just talk. There's so much out there. There's just so, I mean, every time I talk to someone, I get a new little piece, and it's so horrible being a creative, distractive mind because I can go down
I know
rabbit holes that there is. But I do appreciate you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your goddess wisdom. Do be on the lookout because they have these, you know, women's circles with the evolved women work all over. They've been doing traveling work. So do connect with Carol if any of this has connected with you. And I thank you so much, guys, always for being here on Owning Her Health. Thanks so much, Carol. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening into this episode of Owning Her Health with Dr. Lisa Holland, PT. To learn more about her personal and professional development service, visit her online at drlisahollandpt.com.